Joining me now, as he does every fortnight, to give us the facts on all things energy and climate is founder and president of the Centre for Industrial Progress, Alex Epstein. Alex, let's start with the world's richest man, Elon Musk. He's reportedly worth well over $220 billion US, but despite being heavily invested in electric vehicles, he has come out calling for greater oil and gas production. He tweeted, "Hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas output immediately. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures." Obviously, this would negatively affect Tesla, but sustainable energy solutions simply cannot react instantaneously to make up for Russian oil and gas exports. Alex, what do you think of that?
I think a lot of things of that. I mean, so in a sense, it's okay, right? I mean, it's good that he's saying something positive, but Elon Musk is really one of the villains who has been pressuring the US and other countries to restrict the supply of fossil fuel production without a replacement for that supply. And so what happens when you restrict the domestic supply of something vital is you depend on a foreign supply. And now everyone is surprised that when you restrict domestic supply, you depend on foreign supply, and then it's an emergency. Then the other thing I object to about what he's talking about is, why is it just an emergency when our prices go up? What about the perpetual emergency that 5 billion poor people live in? They need energy too, and they need it as quickly as possible. And if sustainable energy, quote unquote, can't support them, why isn't that a moral imperative? Why is it just annoying when it inconveniences us? So I just think there are billions of people who are left out of this conversation, and everyone is being pretty short range, and they're also being very narrow minded. Like, oh, if we have a problem, oh, now it's immediate, now we're upset, versus thinking about this issue in a long range, wide range way, which honestly I've been trying to do for a long time.
Well, you're absolutely right, but Elon Musk is heavily invested in a particular sector, so you can understand why he's pushing these policies. But why are our politicians doing it? Because they're supposed to be looking out for all of us. And senior US officials travelled to Venezuela over the weekend, seeking to ease the hostile relationship between the two countries and discuss the possibility of importing Venezuelan oil once again. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. It's supposed to soften the blow if there's a oil embargo on Russia. But Alex, this is just shameful stuff to have the Biden administration begging a country like Venezuela for oil. And as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis put it, this just legitimizes President Maduro's communist regime and emphasizes the importance of increasing domestic energy production.
I 100% agree. And you know, what you just asked is really important. Why have politicians done this? And I think it has to deal with the short-range nature of it, of the way they think. Like, they think, hey, I want to do something symbolic that makes me look good now and doesn't destroy anything now. And so what do? What did Biden do as soon as he got in office? He shut down the Keystone XL pipeline, and he put a leasing ban in place. Now, those didn't immediately stop anything, but they're part of a trend of doing something that has long-term destructive consequences, but there's this short-term symbolism. But again, the bottom line is very simple. If you ban something, if you ban domestic production and you don't have a replacement, then you depend on foreign production, and then down the line you go begging to Venezuela. It's so simple. And so that's why we need to be very long range and really reject these people who are short range and not just say, hey, what can we do now? But really look back and say, hey, who's responsible? And it's all the people who are against domestic production: Joe Biden, Elon Musk, and millions more.
Now, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, he's another one who's come out and slammed the Biden administration. He said that instead of begging other countries for oil, Biden can just get out of the way and Texas can easily produce enough oil to reduce gas prices. But that's not happening, Alice. Is there any environmental benefit for importing oil from foreign nations instead of increasing your own productions? I wonder if you're actually not reducing your usage, what's the net benefit to the environment?
Well, it's not, I don't exactly think of it in those terms, but I mean, obviously importing Russian oil with Russian practices and then all the, all the energy involved in moving something on a tanker. This is not any victory for anything except, of course, for Russia. And I generally agree with what Governor Abbott is saying, but it's important that to have plentiful, reliable energy is a long-term process. You need to make investments years in advance. And what people are doing now is they're so upset because we've been throttling production for years, and now we're paying the consequences. And they want to know, hey, what can I do right now so that everything goes back to normal? You can't do that. You can't have functioning industries that have been gutted and then just magically resurrect them. So the key is to stop doing what you're doing. And in particular, what he can do immediately, what Biden can do, is stop threatening the industry. He's saying, hey, I want more production. Here's all these leases. But he's threatening them with destruction. He says, I will end fossil fuel. Why is anyone going to move forward with any long-term project when this anti-oil maniac is in office?
And we're seeing the impact of that right here in Australia. Because, why would you invest billions in that sector when governments can triple your taxes or try to destroy your industry? And I want to turn your attention now to coal. The renewable rent seekers are celebrating China's National Energy Administration for suggesting that they will not permit the construction of new coal power plants designed exclusively for electricity generation. But they've left the door open for cogeneration coal-powered facilities that generate both power and heat. What's the truth here, Alex, about China and its plans for new coal-powered facilities?
It's amazing how just gullible people are when it comes to claims about the future. I like looking at the present and the real plans. So China, has been adding something like 3 Texases worth of electricity. They are, they have 200 coal plants in the pipeline, 200 new ones in the pipeline. To my knowledge, they haven't canceled any of those. And this cogeneration thing, they're basically saying, we can do coal, but it has to generate both heat and electricity. Okay, that's not using coal. That's still using coal. I mean, the fact is that China, even with a few anti-coal restrictions, has had major electricity problems in the last several months. Do you think that they're going to get off coal when even doing that a smidgen as sort of symbolism to the world has already gotten them significant blackouts? No, they're very concerned with low-cost, reliable electricity, which is why they pursue avidly fossil fuels. And, there's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with the regime, but there's nothing wrong with them using low-cost, reliable electricity and energy more broadly. But we need to do the same. Otherwise, we're going to keep falling behind to a country that has designs on taking over the world with a very anti-freedom policy.
And we're going to help them do that, Alex. We're going to cripple our own industries and countries and watch them steam ahead. I mean, it is just madness. I wonder in 50, 60 years' time what people will look back at this period and wonder the West was doing. It is bordering on bizarre. Alex Epstein, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Rita.